There are numerous unusual wonders and strange places within the universe. NASA has found a put within the universe where nothing exists. These places are so purged of any matter that it's truly frightening. Numerous questions emerge, such as why has matter vanished in these places, or why these places were able to develop to such surprising sizes. For more than 30 a long time, researchers have been perplexing over what is truly going on in these puzzling places, and presently, for the primary time, researchers have found a totally unused reply to this address. The reply is both interesting and alarming. Within the profundities of the universe, analysts have found huge, starry deserts where something else, the light of millions of systems and endless stars, would sparkle. There's nothing but haziness and vacancy. These strange space-time inconsistencies not as it were stand out in an interesting way from the rest of the infinite environment, but they moreover appear to rise over the known laws of material science and conceivably speak to a totally unused wonder. Due to the prominent non-attendance of matter, these infinite deserts of immense measurements negate the regular expectations of Einstein's relativity conditions and raise questions approximately the uniform structures of the universe. Overall, the estimate of these areas in which there shows up to be nothing negates the common rules of cosmology, but the estimate not, as it were, breaks our physical rules. It moreover rapidly pushes your creative energy to its limits. These conceivable gaps within the texture of space-time are huge in scale, extending over millions of light a long time, a measurement comparable to the biggest known clusters of worlds. By comparison, a single ray of light traveling nearly 300,000 km in one moment would take thousands of a long time to cross one of these gigantic purge fields. These districts are so tremendous that they might surpass in scale a few of the biggest structures within the known universe, such as the Virgo World Cluster, or indeed the Laniakea superclusters. They speak to a mysterious non-appearance containing a few million systems, whereas there's barely any matter to be found within the collections of spooky nothingness. In any case, the frightening thing is that these ranges are not totally empty. Researchers have found person worlds that exist like forlorn and left patches of light within the center of a never-ending forsake and no man's land. The presence of these universes makes the places with nothing within the universe indeed more eerie. We are confronted with a cosmological astound that seem drastically alter science and our sea of the known universe. What causes these vast purge ranges within the texture of space? Are they the item of normal cosmological forms, or might they point to wonders that we have not, however, completely caught on? The structures that cause researchers such trouble are immense, infinite voids, purge spaces of such epic extents that they cannot be there by chance. They must have a uncommon work, or they are the results of incredibly brutal forms within the cosmos. Gigantic purge spaces between worlds and universe clusters are one of the foremost confusing wonders in the right now universe. Indeed, dark gaps are better inquired about than these voids. A particularly momentous case of these structures is the void which NASA has depicted as a huge void, measuring millions of light a long time, and nearly totally void of obvious matter. This void was, to begin with, found in 1981 by a stargazer named Robert Kirshner and is one of the biggest known voids. This puzzling void extends for around 330 million light a long time. Kirshner and his group called their disclosure the extraordinary nothing. At the time, the stargazers thought they had bumbled upon a one-of-a-kind inconsistency. Small did they know that this void was not the as it were one. Nowadays, numerous of these voids are known, and a few are indeed more tremendous than the Bootes void, such as the Eridanus void, which extends over 500 million light a long time, and the northern neighborhood void, which moreover comes to noteworthy measurements. It adds up to, there are thousands of these voids, which together make up a noteworthy portion of the universe. When we conversation around vacancy, haziness, and nothingness within the universe, the terms dark gap, dull matter, or dull vitality naturally reverberate. It's a captivating address, whether and to what degree these wonders are associated. In truth, a few hypotheses recommend that the estimate and dispersion of voids may deliver us profound bits of knowledge into the nature of dim vitality. Dim vitality is thought to be capable for the quickened extension of the universe, but it may moreover be strangely included within the arrangement of these voids. We know from particle physics that where there's no obvious matter, there's by no implies, fundamentally, nothing. There are exceptionally likely imperceptible forms of matter that we cannot see basically since they don't emit light. In locales such as the void, obscure shapes of dull matter might be more display than in other ranges of the universe. For this reason alone, these structures are exceedingly sought after objects of consider. To form the measurements of the voids more substantial, we envision the known universe as a soccer field. Systems and system clusters would represent little patches and clusters on this field, whereas voids would take up most of the region. Clusters of systems and superclusters make up, maybe as it were, approximately 10 to 20 of the mass of the universe, whereas the voids and the spaces in between make up the rest. This reminds us that researchers say that the universe is made up of around 80 Freiwerk matter. So, are these purge spaces and their dispersion something like mirrors appearing the dispersion of matter within the universe on a huge scale? Can the voids offer assistance us to get at impacts such as gravity and dim vitality? Voids permit cosmologists to think about the impacts of gravity in an environment free from the coordinate nearness of huge sums of unmistakable matter. In any case, the gravitational impacts in and around voids, as it were, uncover themselves to us through the movements of unmistakable matter. For case, the few worlds inside these voids. Further gravitational impacts gotten to be clear when we think about the light from objects behind the voids. As huge as a void is, at a few points it comes to a spatial conclusion. In the event that there are systems behind the void, their light enters through the void to us. A few perceptions can give data around how gravitational strengths act over expansive separations and with small, obvious matter, which in turn permits conclusions to be drawn almost the distribution and properties of dull matter within the void. Voids are moreover perfect for considering their shape, and in this way, the development rate of these colossal purge spaces, which in turn permits conclusions to be drawn approximately dull vitality. To this conclusion, researchers are considering the geometry and elements of the voids in great detail. Envision that our world is found inside the Buddha's void. At that point, let's travel back to the time when stargazers to begin with realized that our soil may be a planet inside a system. It was the astronomer Edwin Hubble who, to begin with, realized within the 1920s that there were more universes within the universe. Hubble saw the Andromeda Cloud and other comparative objects for the primary time in 1923. Without further ado, a while later, Hubble succeeded in proving that these nebulae were free worlds, exterior our smooth way. This disclosure was, of course, marvelous, and you'll envision how it changed people's cosmological understanding at the time. Since at that point, the universe has gotten to be greater and greater. Nowadays, we know of an evaluated 2 trillion systems and see over 45 billion light a long time, in each heading with high-performance telescopes. On the off chance that Hubble had lived inside a world in a void, he would not have been able to find another system in his lifetime. He would have seen nothing but obscurity and might have thought that the universe exterior, a collection of stars, was an endless nothingness. It wasn't until the 1960s that our innovation was so great that we might see as distant as a researcher in a void would have to be in a range to spot the primary galaxy outside his own. All anecdotal researcher interior the void would have the opinion from his vantage point that the universe is exceptionally meagerly populated. Within the 1980s, we might have come over the primary cluster of worlds and would have been shocked to distribute in a logical diary that there are strange clusters of universes within the universe for which the science of this invented world has no clarification. For us, the picture is precisely the inverse. We humans began by studying our own world, which for a long time was the center of the cosmos for us. Then we observed the sun and other planets, eventually realizing that all stars are other suns and that there may be planets there too. Our science has grown linearly from our point of view, and initially inexplicable discoveries have provided new clues as to what the world and the universe are really like. The voids show us that our view of the universe is still very one-sided, and that what we consider normal may be the exception elsewhere. A fictional scientist inside the void would have the opinion from his vantage point that the universe is very sparsely populated. In the 1980s, we might have come across the first cluster of galaxies and would have been surprised to publish in a scientific journal that there are mysterious clusters of galaxies in the universe for which the science of this fictitious world has no explanation. For us, the picture is exactly the opposite. We humans began by studying our own world, which for a long time was the center of the cosmos for us. Then we observed the sun and other planets, eventually realizing that all stars are other suns and that there may be planets there too. Our science has grown linearly from our point of view, and initially inexplicable discoveries have provided new clues as to what the world and the universe are really like. The voids show us that our view of the universe is still very one-sided, and that what we consider normal may be the exception elsewhere.